things that I might never see again. I just can't wait to get on that road again.
On the road again, like a band of pilgrims, we go down the highway. We're the best of friends, forgetting that the world don't see it our way. And our way is on the
Road again. Just can't wait to get on that road again. The life I love is making music with my friend. I just can't wait to get on that road again.
On the road again, like a band of pilgrims, we go down the highway. We're the best of friends, forgetting that the world don't see it our way. And our way is on the
Road again. Just can't wait to get on that road again. The life I love is making music with my friends. I just can't wait to get on that road again.
Oh,
I can't wait to get on that road again.
one more time. Oh,
I can't wait to get on that road again.
But the first question is, what motivated you to do the Camino?
Well, I just graduated from undergrad, and so I have the summer off before I start graduate school, and I decided it was the perfect time to have some time to be contemplative, also see the world a bit, meet some people, really expand my horizons, and to grow, see how my spiritual growth can start before I start this next stage of life.
Great, thanks for the answer. What is the best or one of the best pieces of advice that you've ever gotten from somebody personally?
Oh, goodness.
That's one we might have to think a minute.
Great advice I got is that, and this probably, yeah, this applies to everyone, I think. This girl once told me, it's like 4 or 5 years ago, she said that, this is a bit of advice, a bit of a prayer, but that she says, every day she wakes up and she says, please make my life interruptible. And I think we get caught up so much in our everyday lives of making a list, everything we have to do, check off, and it just can become sort of mundane, and you don't begin to realize all these different opportunities you have to interrupt that schedule, interrupt that life with encounters with other people or with nature or with different things. Yeah, and those are really the things you remember at the end of the day.
Right.
So.
That question could be, what's been the hardest thing about the Camino?
Oh, if you wanted to make it Camino based.
Yeah. Or just to start with you, and then you can decide on the next person.
I mean, I can answer that. The hardest thing for me, I expected it to be a physical challenge, but more so it's been, I don't know Spanish, and so that's a large language barrier, and so it's almost as if you can't get the full experience. You can't really connect with a lot of people you meet because
the language
you can't
barrier.
speak to them.
Going down the road, feeling like, oh, it's the worst I've ever had. Going
Bravo. How's that water?
Colder than Lake Superior.
Oh, geez. Hello.
Okay, hi. Simon from the Netherlands. I'm doing the Camino on my inline skates for the second time. So
Yeah. Well, I saw those next to my boots yesterday. I wondered who they belonged to. And lo and behold, is this guy here. And we spent some time last night together too. So 3 questions. The first question is, what motivates you to do the Camino?
that's an interesting question. As I said before, it's my second time. I remember that the last time when I came back, I started from the Netherlands and went to Finisterre. But when I came back, I had so much energy and such a big drive. And I used that for the last 2 years to do. I've like 5 different jobs. I studied, I did an honors program, I did like a research master, cum laude, whatever. It's like, everything went fine, but now I'm wondering, like, is it the right way to spend your energy to work and to studies, and are there not like more important things, that the things you enjoyed on previous Camino, like the friends, the talking, the eating, just relax a bit. And I think this is my biggest lex for this Camino, just to learn how to relax instead of just keep on going, go. Just take it easy a bit.
That's great.
And,
Wonderful. So the second question is, what's the best advice you've ever gotten? Or no, it doesn't have to be about the Camino, and it can be anything. Something that resonates with you, but you think that's true. Someone said it to you. It could, and there probably are a lot of them, but if you would just give one.
Well, I think the best advice I ever got is the one I gave to myself.
And what was that?
It is love with all your heart. Love everything. Like love yourself, love the world around you, love the people around you, love nature, love the food, love everything. Just
Good.
That's kind of similar to your question.
yeah. It's the same question. Yeah.
That's a great,
It's
great response.
It's a kind of attitude towards the world. And it's like saying yes towards everything that comes on your path. Saying yes to yourself, your positive and your negative things. Saying yes to the world, like everything that happens to you that's outside of your control. Just say yes to it and accept it. It's like you can't change the world, but you can change the way you perceive it.
Excellent. The last question is slightly different than the first, and it is, what has been the hardest thing about the Camino for you?
The hardest thing about the Camino. I think the hardest thing are your memories. It's like you're alone and you have only your memories, like the things you did in your life, your plans and everything, and it's just like it's a confrontation with yourself. It's like you look yourself in the mirror, and I think that can be hard.
El trigo entre las flores ha elegido a la amapola. Yo elijo a mis Dolores, Dolores, Lolita, Lola. Y yo elijo a mis Dolores, en la flor más perfumada. Dolores, Lolita, Lola. Poropopó, poropó, poropó, pero, poropó, poropó, pero, poropó, poropó, a los chicos de mi cara poner candado, por no ver las cosas raras de ese niño chalao, por no ver las cosas raras de ese niño chalao que te el no dispara. Porom pom pom, pero, porom pom, pero, porom pom pom, porom pom pom, pero, porom pom, pero, porom pom pom. El catote de tu hermano, que no me venga con leyes. Español, yo soy gitano, que llevo sangre de reyes. Español, yo soy gitano, que llevo sangre de reyes en la palma de la mano. Porom pom pom, pero, porom pom, pero, porom pom pom. Veré la hoja, veré la parra debajo del puente. Retumba, retumba, retumba. Porom pom pom, porom pom, pero, porom pom, pero, porom pom pom. Porom pom pom, pero, porom pom pom. Excelente.
Pues, ¿qué va?
No, sí.
¡Desastroso!
No.
¿Cuál es tu motivación? ¿Qué te motiva a hacer el camino? Porque, bueno, ya dirás.
Bueno, vengo haciendo el camino todos los años durante ya más de 15 años o algo así, un montón de veces. Y lo hago siempre por la gente, porque la gente que encuentro es lo que más me enriquece. Puedo conocer gente de todo el mundo y te permite viajar dentro de un espacio muy próximo, que es solo el Camino a Santiago, y puedes conocer a gente de todos los lados del planeta, como vosotros en este caso, y otra gente que me aporta muchísima riqueza y me permite también, pues bueno, abrirme a ellos y practicar también el idioma. Y además todo el mundo aquí está súper abierto, open mind, creo que se dice en
¿sí?
inglés.
Uh-huh.
Y eso hace que el camino cada año, a pesar de que lo he repetido ya infinidad de veces, sea diferente y sea enriquecedor. Esa es mi motivación.
Perfecto. Un buen consejo de alguien.
El mejor consejo que haya recibido.
Sí, algo así.
No sé, el mejor consejo quizás es el que llegas al convencimiento de que hay que vivir el momento y que tienes que aprovechar cada instante y no pensar más allá del día siguiente. Para mí ese es el mejor consejo.
Excelente.
La cosa más difícil del camino, bueno, es tener constancia para no desear de vez en cuando volverte a casa antes de tiempo y dejar que pasen los momentos de bajón, que los tienes en el camino a pesar de que siempre tiene momentos muy divertidos, pero como la vida misma hay momentos en los que deseas también recogerte y esconderte. Entonces, bueno, hay que dejar que pasen esas horas y esperar al día siguiente.
motiva a hacer el camino? En lo más estereotípico, ¿verdad? Pero lo más cliché, pero también interesante.
Un tema me motiva a hacerlo, un tema espiritual, un tema personal. Es por ello que voy haciéndolo este camino.
Muy bien, excelente.
No sé, una nueva experiencia, conocer gente nueva, diferentes culturas, conocer el camino, España en sí.
Sí, excelente.
Yo por tema religioso, por encontrar a Dios, por acercarme un poco más a Él y nada, el camino te lo da todo.
Temas personales, como ponerme a la prueba y conocer a gente, a culturas y disfrutarlo también.
Bueno, cuando me dicen deja que la vida te lleve por sus caminos, creo que es muy bonito de repente soltar y dejarte llevar por esos caminos.
Muy bien. ¿Alguien tiene otro consejo?
A mí no consejo, sino que una señora me dijo una vez que me dijo, te voy a decir unas cosas, ama y perdona en la vida. Ay, no me acuerdo.
Muy bien, pero esto ya es suficiente, ¿verdad? Eso ya
supongo que sí.
suena bien bonito.
Ama y perdona en la vida. No sé qué.
Ama y perdona, ya. Todos vamos felices. ¿Algo más?
Podría decir como trata el próximo como tú querías ser tratado. Y aquí en el
Exacto.
camino lo estoy viendo un montón porque la gente es muy amable y te sale el cariño que está en ti.
Muy bien. Y la última pregunta es esta. ¿Qué ha sido la parte más difícil del Camino de Santiago para ustedes?
¿Vale? Bueno, yo creo que la parte más difícil es responderme a mí mismo estas interrogantes, las que el propio camino me ha hecho, y es encontrar esas respuestas y esas interrogantes propias.
No sé, yo ahora mismo pues vivir un poco la experiencia y ver hasta dónde puedo llegar.
Las ampollas.
No tengo ninguna, no tengo
No,
ninguna.
yo tampoco. Lo más difícil del camino hasta ahora.
Lo más difícil del camino hasta ahora.
Sí.
Pues
Puede ser cualquier cosa.
Esta etapa.
el camino, las ampollas, la fuerza que tienes que sacar para poder seguir. Hay momentos que dices que ya no puedes y pides a Dios que por favor te siga iluminando el camino para poder llegar a tu destino. No sé.
Sí, no, esto es perfecto. ¿Algo más?
Para mí, como creo, cuando yo estoy sola, entonces decidir algo para tú mismo y hacerlo además de los otros, porque además hay otras personas y a veces te quieres ir, te quieres juntar, pero, comprender lo que tú quieres realmente y hacerlo no importa si el grupo está contigo, entonces quedarte con tú misma y no con los demás.
Mama says that I don't use it anymore, and now long my house is running out, and I feel like I'm knocking on heaven's door. Knocking on heaven's door. Yes, I'm knocking on heaven's door.
Hi, my name's Mark Kay. I'm from South Africa. I'm 37 years old and I'm on the Camino for my honeymoon.
Great. And the first question I have for you is this one. What motivated you to do the Camino?
I've always been obsessed with Spain, inexplicably so, from a very young age. And when my wife was asking me what should we do for the honeymoon, I said, what about the Camino de Santiago? To which she responded, what's that? And she Googled it, and a couple of days later she came back and she said, yes, we will do the Camino.
So that was more important than her, saying yes to marrying you?
I'll say I'm Sarah K / Richard. And yeah, so like Mark said, he said, let's do the Camino. I was like, okay. I Googled it and I watched some videos on it, and I kind of fell in love with the idea. I'm a very spiritual person. I'm not religious at all. And the kind of idea of walking to get over your shit kind of really appealed to me, because I think that a lot of us hold a lot of stuff that we don't realize we hold, and the idea of doing something that completely terrified me that I never thought I could do really kind of pushed me to say, you know what, yes, let's do it. Yeah.
Right. Okay, the next question is not necessarily Camino related, but it is, what is one piece of advice that you have been given personally that has stuck with you?
Do you want to take yesterday's? Because if not, I'll take. Okay.
You go.
We met an American walking yesterday. Can I give 2 pieces of advice?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
On the Camino yesterday, we met an American called Jim, an engineer from the south. And Jim told us a little fable, and the way that it turns out, things happen, and the farmer in the fable says, good or bad, that's not for me to say. So things are going to happen to you, and whether they turn out to be good or bad, that's not for you to say. You've just got to take life as it comes and deal with whatever hand you're dealt. The first piece of advice, I was going through a bad breakup back in high school many, many moons ago, and a teacher walked past, finding me crying in the corridor on my best female friend's shoulder, and he said, well, you know, Master K, because I'm quite a formal school, you know, Master K, everything is relative to time, and in a year, this won't seem so bad. And he was entirely correct, and just the idea of take the long view. In a year, this may not seem so bad.
Very good.
So yeah.
Quite similarly, another thing that Jim told us yesterday was just a kind of strange passing comment, was we were walking up that really awful hill, and
which one?
Yeah. And just like I suppose a kilometer before we got there, it was hot and we were dying, and he said, look back, and the view was incredible, and he just said, don't forget to always look back and see where you've come from, because you'll see the beauty and the kind of seeing things in hindsight, I guess. And another piece of advice that I will never ever forget is my husband always says to me, calma, calma. And I think that's very important, even though it really annoys me all the time. It's really important to kind of sometimes remember to calm down.
To calm down, right. Very good.
Don't take that to your head now.
I'm telling my dad as soon,
No.
because I get it from him.
Well, the last question is a Camino-related question. And this stage you've been on for 3 days, you said?
This was day 3.
This is day 3. So what do you think so far has been the most difficult thing about the Camino for you?
The most difficult thing for me has been the language barrier, because I'm a very social person, and sometimes I want to engage more with people, and then it's kind of like, mi español es poco poco. It's, and then I can't really talk to them or find out more about what their experience has been. So I find myself latching onto English speakers, which is great and fine, and it's great to find out about their experiences, but also I'd like to find out more. I like to hear stories. I'm a writer. I live for stories, and those individual stories I find are incredible, and I want more of them.
Great. What are you finding difficult so far?
There are two things for me. The first thing is that I'm a tiny bit of a hypochondriac. So every time I get a slight pain, I'm like, oh my god, my foot is now just destroyed. I'll never be able to walk again. And it's that mental thing of saying, don't be stupid. Your foot is sore, not destroyed. It's going to be fine. It's like to get through that, to push through the day of the pain without feeling like I need to go to the hospital, which is really stupid. And the other thing is that I'm a very, very shy person. So being kind of introducing myself to new people and being with new people every single night is very difficult for me.
And good for you, probably, right?
It's great for me to like push myself into social places.
Very good. Thank you so much.
It's always been the same old story. From the moment I could talk, I was ordered to listen. Now there's a way, and I know that I have to go away. I know I have to go away. It's not time to make a change. Just sit down, take it slowly. You're still young, that's your fault. There's so much you have to go through.
Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River. Life is older than the trees, younger than the mountain, feeling like a breeze. Country roads take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, all my memories gather round her. Miner's daughter, stranger to blue water, dark and dusty, braided by the light. Dusty taste of moonshine, teardrops in my eyes. Country road, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country road, I hear her voice in the morning hour. She calls me. Radio reminds me of my home far away. And walking down the road, I get a feeling that I could have been home yesterday. Yesterday, country roads take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, country road, take me home. Country road, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country road, take me home. Country road.
My name is Marita and I'm from Germany.
Okay, the first question is, what motivated you to do the Camino?
Didn't have a specific motivation. I just like this kind of travel because as a flight attendant, you go from one place to another so quickly that you lose the
Sense of the place.
Yeah, and so I love to travel and see the change of the landscapes and everything with on a slow pace, and yeah, and also like the fact of not having plans. The only thing you have to get up in the morning is to walk and continue until the end, and
Simplifies your life. It's
yeah,
very nice.
definitely.
Any kind of advice that you have heard in your lifetime that you think is good advice?
Well, I think one that's really stuck to my mind and that's I like because it reminds me of my grandfather.
That's the best.
It's not so philosophical or anything, but he's like, he said, when someone offers you something, just take it, be grateful and take it, yeah? Don't be like shy and say like, no. But like, take it, be grateful and accept it as well.
Good. Very good.
And yeah.
Being grateful is very important, I think. Very good. The third question is, what has been the most difficult thing about the Camino for you?
Letting people go. But I think it's like a repetition or like shows in your life as well.
Yes, it's a metaphor.
Yeah, it's the hardest part, that once you let people close to you and then they go because they're on different paces or everything, but then on the other hand it's very beautiful to bump into each other again.
It is, yeah. Very good.
Love is a rose, but you better not pick it. Only grows when it's on the vine. Handful of thorns and you know you've missed it. Lose your love when you say the word mine. I wanna see what's never been seen. I wanna live that age-old dream. But I'm gonna last, we can go together. Take the best right now. Take the best right now. Solo. I wanna go to an old hoedown, long ago in a western town. Pick me up when my feet are dragging. Give me a lift and I'll hay your wagon. I wanna see what's never been seen. I wanna live that age-old dream. Come on, lass, we can go together. Let's take the best right now. Take the best right now. Love is a rose. Love is a rose. Love is a rose. Love is a rose.
There's a house in New Orleans. They call the rising sun. It's been the ruin of many poor boys, and Lord, I know I'm one. Mother was a tailor. She sold them blue jeans. Father was a gambling man down in New Orleans. The only thing a gambler needs is a suitcase and a trunk. And the only time he's satisfied is when he's on the drunk. Oh, mothers, tell your children.
Hello, I'm Heather from Australia.
I am Gabrielle from the United States.
And my name is Ralph. I'm from Amsterdam, Holland.
I'm John from the United States as well.
I'm Mario from Italy.
The first question is, what has motivated you to do the Camino de Santiago?
I think it's been for me about transition. I had time in between moving back to the UK and I wanted to do something that symbolized that huge shift, and this felt like the right thing to do.
Very good.
I have chosen to do the Camino because I really love hiking. I love walking, and I wanted to put my mind, body, and soul into one of the ultimate tests and see how far I can push myself, how much I can learn about myself. And so far, I've done a good job.
Great.
So for me, I think my generation is too focused on making every day fun and life has to be happy all the time, that I would try not to be focused on any goals of job or scholarship or anything, that I would just leave my phone at home and just be focused on the nature, where there is a supermarket and where I will sleep tonight.
I would say mine would just be finally doing my first adventure and getting out of my comfort zone to the point where I've not only taught myself to do things individually, but also be open-minded to adventure as well.
Great. Mario?
For me, it was. For me, I decided to start the Camino to be more who I think human beings are meant to be. So to be forgiven for all the time I haven't loved enough someone, like my friends, my brothers, and to know better myself in order to like be more a loving person.
Great. Wonderful. Second question is not necessarily Camino centric, although you can make it Camino. And the question is, what's one piece of advice that you received from someone that has made a difference in your life? Something that someone told you, or maybe even that you read, but something that you think is true. Anyone can go at any time. This one's the hardest question, I think.
For me, that would be in the most broadest way. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Broadest way, whether that's Camino-wise or in everyday life. And it's like, for me, it's written in my heart. It's really important to me is that love is love. So that could be in a religious way. That could be that you can talk to anyone here in Spain on the Camino. That no matter where you come from, what you are, or maybe it sounds too cheesy, but I really think it's true, is that you can find love everywhere and from anyone.
Great.
That's it for me.
It's fantastic. Anyone else? Any advice they've heard? Or
Yes. So someone told me the other day that at any point in your life, you are able to do what you want. You don't need to wait around for this like imaginary time where you think that you're going to be happy, because you're happy now, and live right now, be present now, because you don't know what tomorrow will bring. So don't ever let like money rule your experience, with the worries about the future ruin your experience right now, because this is what we have right now, you know.
Good one. Anyone else?
I would say the Spanish saying, the poco un poco, just little by little.
Yep.
Just don't even take it day by day. I'd say almost moment by moment. Like, just every time you're hiking, little things will happen throughout the way, and those are what make it the biggest experience.
So me too. I'd like to say like what is said, like the sentence. La meta es el camino. It's the truth of our life, and then if you think of like just walking, and inside of you are happy. There might be the storm, but you face the storm with a smile, and that's the only thing. I think like it was from my book, and it's the first thing I remember right now.
Great. Anything?
Yeah, I as part of this trip, I read Wild for the first time, and I just loved the way that she ended the book with that sense of new things to come, and that she was present in the moment, but excited about the uncertainty of what things hold. And it got me thinking about acceptance of where you are, acceptance that you cannot change the weather or your tired feet, or maybe your pace is not as fast as some other people, you know, whether that's on the Camino or whether that's in life, but that's the most wonderful thing. is that it is your journey,
Right.
and you determine how that looks and how you feel and the choices that you make. So embracing that acceptance has been important to me both on this trip and in life.
Very good.
And
All right.
I think that that's also for the when you're walking the Camino, when you're with like-minded people, that's easy. Well, it's not easy, but you figure it out because you've got plenty of time. You're not thinking about anything else. But the art is when we go back to London, or when we go back to my job or everyday life in Holland, is that we should remember this and take it along with what we're doing, because it's easy to fall back in what we were doing.
So easy.
But I think for me is the most challenging part is to come back to Amsterdam and not forget the lessons I've learned here.
Well, that's an excellent segue. 'Cause the final question, which you've already answered very nicely, is perhaps what has been the hardest thing for you on the Camino? And it could be anything. People have said very diverse kinds of things have been difficult for them. So what has been the hardest thing about the Camino so far?
For me, it's expectation versus reality. So it's so easy to put huge expectations on what you think it will be, how you think it will feel. You know, a lot of people expect to have this very clarifying, beautiful experience, and then you see them 300 kilometers in, and it's about the blisters and the pain and the heat. And yeah, it's I don't know. It's been yeah.
I think that's good. That's the hard thing, to stay in the moment. Anything else that's been hard for people? The hardest thing?
I would say siesta time.
Of course.
And the supermarkets and the pharmacies, like everything closes from 2 to 5:30. But it gives you a sense of realizing what you want and what you need. You know, because all you really need is maybe like a little bit of food, water, and shelter, and you don't need to go to the supermarket for any of those things.
Yeah.
Like so,
That's great.
it's a very good. I think it's a very important lesson to learn.
Yeah, great. Other hard things or hardest things about the Camino?
Mine would have been finally pushing myself, not only physically and emotionally, but also like mentally, being able to, you know, force myself to not, like, obviously you don't want to wake up at 6 a.m. and walk, you know, 30 kilometers a day. But once I started doing it and get into the routine, I almost enjoyed it. And so myself, after pushing myself to do that so many times, I almost enjoy waking up like, oh, I'm going to a new place today. I'm going to experience new things. I'm going to see new people, eat new food, whole another city to see, and that I've never ever been in. So just basically new experiences is what's pushed me.
Good.
I think for me, the difficult thing would be, well, actually like I said before, to leave it behind me, to have accomplished the Camino for like the part that I did. That's why for me the last 100K is like, it's a thing, because you're finishing your Camino, and well, just like I said, you're going back to daily routine, and this part has been amazing. You're doing things you don't do in everyday life.
How can you bring that into your everyday life?
Yeah, but also because you don't make time for this. You don't make time for real conversation, not small talk, but like really, how are you? How has your day been? Like, what did you all see? And tell me all about it. I'm really, like, when I meet people, I'm really curious what they have been through, and that's in everyday life. There's no time.
Yeah.
We're not making time for that. So for me, it's going to be the hardest thing, actually.
For me, it was more about indecision. As I said before, if you face a problem, an issue with a smile, everything's going fine. But if you are not decided, if you to be in the no part of yourself or in the yes part of yourself, so positive or negative, I was like getting crazy just to choose the albergue I wanted because of my expectation, for example, because I wanted something from my Camino, and so I was like, oh, who I want to be with, I want to share my food with who, or how many K I want to do today. Like, indecision has been like the biggest issue for me along the way, and I'm pretty proud of like the steps I move in this way.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
I'm just a poor, wayfaring stranger, traveling through this world below. There's no sickness, no toil, no danger in that bright land to which I go. Going there to see my father, all my loved ones who've gone on, and I'm going over Jordan, and I'm going over home. No dark cloud will gather round me. I know my way is hard and steep. Beautiful fields arise before me, where God's redeemed their vigils made. Going there to see my mother, said she'd meet me when I come, and I'm going over Jordan, and I'm going over home, and I'm going over Jordan, and I'm going over home.
The question is, what motivated you to do the Camino?
You guys
What motivated me to do the Camino is I just graduated high school and I really wanted to do something adventurous and out of my comfort zone before I start college. The Camino came up in my life multiple times and I took that as a sign and just went for it.
Great, thank you.
And for me, it's something physically. I'd like to do this. I have really bad knees, and my son planned on doing the Camino, and I said, okay, if you want, I can come with you, and that's what I did.
Great, mother and son. Wonderful.
I think the thing that popped into my mind is I was talking to my parents a few days back. I was really struggling with the Camino. It was really hard physically. It was getting really hard mentally, and my dad just said, you know, you're here, make everything an adventure, make everything fun. Not everything is going to be fun, but try and see the positive side in everything. And that really helped me.
Good.
Today was a fabulous day because I saw the positive things in everything, and yeah.
Great. Can you help with any ideas or advice that you've heard or things that are important to you?
I'm really quiet. Yes, I think what's important to me is that you have to be grateful.
Yeah.
That's very important, and I would like to advise other people to keep the balance.
Yeah.
Especially in several situations in life. Sometimes it's going the scale to one side, like for my son in Amsterdam, it's busy, it's a lot of people, there's no rest, and now he's experienced how it is to be silent, to be early rise, to be walking, to be slowing, and that's I guess my
Great.
my advice to others.
Balance. That's a great
Balance.
piece of advice. The last question is, what is something that has been hard for you on the Camino? And I've received many different, it's different for everyone. What has been the hardest thing or something that has been particularly hard for you? on the Camino?
I can answer this one
Sure.
very quickly because for me it was the pain in my back. I didn't expect that. I have really sore knees, so I know that this was going to be hard. It was uphill, downhill. It was okay. I expect to have my backpack hurting.
Yeah.
It didn't. My hips didn't hurt.
No.
Nothing. But my back and my calves. This is really that I thought, okay, why is it? I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
And that was a mental thing because you have to
Adjust.
let it go. It's
Yeah.
just like it is.
Yeah,
That's
it
what-
hurts.
It hurts.
It hurts. That's true. Very good. Thank you.
I think for me, physically it was very hard, but mentally, I'm only 18, so this is my first time on my own. This is my first time in Europe, halfway across the world from my parents. So I really had to learn to be very independent and kind of fend for myself. I don't really have anybody to lean on. I have myself to lean on, which is something that is great and scary and frightening and exciting all at once. So that's something I've had to deal with, but I'm getting better and strengthening, liking my own company and trusting myself.
Great. Thank you very much for your answers.
Santiago, and if we get there, we hope it will save our soul. And the wheels keep turning, and they don't know where they're going. And the sunlight showing, and the stars flashing at night. And the full moon showing, and the Milky Way is flowing. And the wind keeps moaning, tugging at my brain. If we get to Burgos tomorrow, we'll be alright. Brother, pass the vino to me, if you please. With the full moon shining, feels so free tonight on the old Camino, Santiago. And if we get there, we hope it will save our soul.
My name is Erin, and I am from Brooklyn, New York. Yeah, so the Camino has actually been a really long time goal of mine. I wanted to do it since I was in high school with my brother, and so it's been like 6 years now. And really, I just wanted to do it because I've never gone on an extended, long journey. And I really wondered what it was like to have that sustained focus on one specific thing for that long. That wasn't quite as long as university or quite as traditional as that. You know, really just like a very intensive month where you have one singular goal. And what type of transformation you go when you start in one place, you walk just a shit ton of miles and see where you end up as a person. I'm going through a sort of big transition in my life right now, where it's felt very much like I've been rushing from one thing to the next, and it can get very intellectual and sort of mentally taxing, and I wanted an opportunity to do something that was simple.
Great.
So I thought this was a good time to slow down and really reflect before I kind of move ahead to a new era of my life.
Great.
I think the best advice I ever received, and actually was the piece of advice that made me feel okay coming on this journey, is that life is long. And that's a little antithetical to what I was always told growing up, which is life is short, you should, you know, try to make the most of every day. And for me, hearing that life is long allowed me to feel like I could finally choose and focus on one thing at a time with the trust and knowledge that I could get to everything I wanted. If I was healthy, if I took care of myself, you have more than enough time to get to most of the things you really want to do in life. Whereas I think sometimes when you think life is short, you get caught up in this rat race of trying to do everything to impress others, to impress yourself. And for me, hearing life is short, I always felt like my priorities got entangled, and I felt like I had to rush into everything, which in turn meant that I was really kind of rushing towards nothing specific. And when this very close friend of me told me, life is long, you don't have to decide on everything right now, and it's okay to have phases of your life.
It was liberating.
It was liberating. That was probably the best piece of advice I've gotten, and it's not just from her. Like, my parents have really, and more or less in sort of different words, but have essentially given me the permission to feel the same way.
Great.
That's been a really life-changing piece of advice, is that life is long.
That's great. There was actually an interesting quote that I saw just before we got here, that it was in Spanish, and it said, "Life is short, but it's wide."
Yes.
I thought that was
really
a good one.
like that.
And the last question goes back to the Camino a bit, and it is the question about what has been the hardest thing for you about the Camino?
Goodbyes.
Yeah.
I really thought when I was starting the Camino, it was mental. Like, just there are very few times in your life where you are doing something as simple as walking, but for such a long period of time. It's just like for hours and hours, it's one foot in front of the other. So first it's just like the mental challenge of that, and sustaining focus on something that can be honestly quite as mind-numbing as just walking. And then it moves into physical pain, and your feet hurt, your body aches like it never has before. And then all of a sudden you start meeting people that make the walk easier. You start having conversations where all of a sudden it's like 2 hours have passed and you forget that you're walking and carrying a heavy pack because you've enjoyed this connection that you've made with someone you didn't know that morning. And that's really special. And now that I am literally less than 10 kilometers outside of Santiago, it's the thought of saying goodbye to all the people that have made this journey what it is.
Difficult.
It's hard, and I think part of the hardest thing of the Camino is knowing that you're making these friendships that make the Camino what it is, and make you kind of fall in love with something that's so grueling and kind of crazy. And like I was telling you earlier,
I want to do the Camino again because it's been such a good experience, and yet there is that bittersweet part of knowing that I will never be able to recreate this exact Camino with the exact people and the exact experiences. And that's what makes it beautiful, and it also makes it hard to say goodbye.
Perfect. Thank you. Yeah.
Hi there, my name's Adam and I'm from the southwest of England, Dorset.
First question is, what motivated you to do the Camino?
Well, actually, I suppose I first heard about it from reading Paulo Coelho books, and that was, I think, I've had authors who have resonated with me on a level of storytelling and a way of describing things and getting different people's perspectives just nailed to the point and using so many different varieties to be able to show that, and I really like that. But he was the first author, Paulo Coelho, that spoke to me as though I was almost talking myself, and I think a lot of people have that reading his books, which is just fantastic. So I immediately felt like it was a journey that I needed to have at some point. And when I read the first book, my sister gave it to me and she said, I think you'll really get on with it, because it's just the sort of weird airy-fairy thinking that sometimes goes through your mind, or the thoughts that come out. So my sister actually was the one who wanted to do the Camino, and she had been thinking about it for a while, and the signs just kept coming up and things just kept saying yes to do it, so she just went, yep, now is the time. As I've seen along the Camino, now is the moment, many times. And she just said about a month before it started, do you want to come, save up a bit of money, go for it. And I wasn't working at the time, so I didn't have a lot of money, and my sister said, yeah, just bring a few £100 and then it'll be okay. And I was like, oh, okay. And then in the middle she was like, yeah, we're getting a bit low on money. And I was like, but how much money were we spending? I thought we were going to be sleeping outside half the time and like not going to the really expensive places and going for donativos because they're the nice atmosphere, and everyone's just happy because they're just a little bit, they feel like they're a bit more home and a bit more safe and secure. But no, we had some really nice groups that we've been walking with, and the different albergues that we stayed in, a bit more expensive sometimes, the meals were a bit more expensive, but they were also lovely and fantastic, and that was the Camino that we had, and that was great. Good. So yeah, it was just because my sister thought that I should come, and I thought, yeah, it's a great idea.
Sister's always right, yeah?
Exactly.
I've got 3 of them.
Balance is everything in life. Moderation is key. There are things which are terrible to have a little bit of and terrible to have too much of, but you do as best you can with what you've got. The advice was you need to have a list of attributes that you would like to find in another person, and that's not something that I've ever really done before. I mean, I've had rough images in my mind, and then I found people that have almost completely fitted it and thought, wow, that just happened, and I wasn't intending for thinking about who the perfect person might be, because who the hell would be perfect for anyone? But she said, make this list of attributes about the person that you want to find, because that also sometimes subliminally, very often, is the person that you would like to become. And so if you are practicing these things that you would like to see in another person, then you're more likely to attract people that are like-minded, and well, it's simple. It's just But
we forget a lot of simple things and we complicate our lives.
It's the easiest thing in the world to lie to yourself, and or just to kid yourself to hope that to make something a bit easier and to have less of a problem.
That's true.
Okay, the hardest thing has been in my own head, trying to comprehend the issues that I'm having, trying to lay it out on the table and say, this is what's going on, this is what I need to do about it, or just to get close to the subject in my mind, that I just start thinking and talking freely without really registering that I'm helping myself. I found that quite a difficulty because I've just been so distracted by all of these wonderful people, and it's been great. And I think I've gotten so much out of it from talking to them, and the advice, and just the thinking by myself in the period that I've had to walk by myself. And
those are many difficult things then. That's good.
Yeah, I knew that I wasn't going to feel quite as liberated or euphoric at the end of the journey as I had probably built up in my mind, because, you know, it's this magical thing that you just hope to happen where your problems are just suddenly fixed.
We all have some of that, yeah.
But no, I'm really pleased. It's been so fantastic, and it's so refreshing to be around people that give a shit about the world and just like to see other people happy, and you know, not much else, because you don't tend to talk about a lot of other things on the Camino. I mean, you talk about your problems, you try and help each other, but realizing that, you know, there's a lot of good people out there, and the good people don't really shout about it so much, but it's so prominent for media and people to latch on to memories of terrible things that happen and not necessarily to have them explained very well. So it's just this event that's not very nice, and then the world is just a series of these events, and if you don't have enough acknowledgement of the good as well, then you start to lose the battle. So you've got
stop
to
watching the news.
Start
hanging out with your friends.
Yeah. Well,
everything remains the same. I can't do what 10 people tell me to do, so I guess I'll remain the same. Sitting here resting my bones, this loneliness won't leave me alone. 2,000 miles I roamed just to make this dock my home. So watching the tide roll away. Oh, sitting on the dock of the bay, wasting time, Rich.
People get ready, the train coming. Don't need no baggage, just get on board. All you need is faith, hear the beats humming. Don't need no ticket, just thank the Lord. People get ready for
Woo!